So there we have it. Wow, what a race. Let's talk about the British Grand Prix. One of the best British Grand Prix I think I've ever seen. It's a bit quiet in the middle, a bit loud at the start, and sensational at the end. So let's get into it, shall we? And I think we have to start off with the driver of the day. A very deserved driver of the day. He started down in 19th place. He gets 3rd place after well over 200 races with a 238. Nico Hülkenberg is an F1 podium finisher. He's gone and won Le Mans before he got a podium in F1. And that wasn't without trying. I mean, he got his first pole position, what, in his rookie season for Williams at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Contended for the win in 2012 at the Brazilian Grand Prix for Force India before having an incident with Lewis Hamilton. And who did he fend off today to get 3rd place? Well, it was Lewis Hamilton. Hülkenberg made the most of a really good strategy when it came to the tyres and made the right calls at the right time, the right switchovers to be able to climb up the order. We saw something similar happen with Lance Stroll, but Stroll kind of fell away in the final phase of the race. Funnily enough, from 3rd position. When Hülkenberg took over 3rd from Lance Stroll, he just didn't really look back. With about 10 laps to go, he was 4 or 5 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton. He finishes about 5 seconds clear, but going on to the last lap, he was, 7 seconds clear, I think. So, very well deserved from Nico Hülkenberg. Deservedly the driver of the day. Something special and spectacular as F1 celebrates 75 years of the sport. He's driven in, 20% of all F1 races? And here we go. Absolutely amazing. And we'll talk a little bit about the Battle of the Win, or what battle there was. Oscar Piastri managed to hold himself behind Max Verstappen until Verstappen made a few mistakes. Consequence of running a low wing setup when it's raining on the track. But it wasn't to be for Oscar in the end. He finished 6.8 behind Lando Norris thanks to a 10-second time penalty. Now, we can have a bit of discussion on that penalty in a moment. What it was for slowing towards the end of the safety car window. But at the end of the day, Lando Norris wins on home soil. That championship gap comes down a bit. We'll talk about the standings in a few minutes as well. But, crucially for both of them, Verstappen finishes 5th. A good way of clawing back after dropping, 8 places for spinning seemingly of his own accord. But a McLaren 1-2 on home soil. Hülkenberg on the podium. For a lot of F1 fans, that's a dream. However, if that is a dream, for the rookies, this was a nightmare. We had 5 retirees from this race, all 5 of them full season rookies. The only one who finished was Ollie Behrman. He finished 11th place. I think that is prior to an investigation over his incident with Esteban Ocon, where the Haas's went a little bit, how do we describe it? I think the best way to describe it is going a little bit 2019. You know, with Grosjean and Magnussen. Synchronized spinning we had down towards Brooklands. But when it comes to the retirees, wow. Colapinto and Lawson, it is what it is. Lawson did a bit of a squeeze that he probably shouldn't have done, but he wasn't to know that Tsunoda was putting it 3 wide. Colapinto gets stuck in gear going into the pits and is out of the race. If that's his last race in F1, that's plenty unfair. Bortoletto spins in a way that I swear I saw a friend do a few years ago in the F1 game. That wasn't on a wet track, but that was under no pressure. And that was in a Red Bull, from what I remember. Hadjar? Well, he couldn't see the Antonelli he ran into the back of going into Cops. I did joke at one point about what happens if a Red Bull car goes off at Cops. I didn't expect it to be Hadjar. I didn't expect it to be run into the back of Antonelli in the wet, but visibility was really bad. Something we might come back to in a moment. And the reason why we might come back to that is because I'm going to discuss the penalty now. Oscar Piastri gets a 10-second time penalty for slowing as the safety car lights went out. Verstappen didn't see it, went straight past him. Piastri gets a 10-second penalty. Now, when this happened at the Spanish Grand Prix, I said it was very kind of Mugello 2020. For those of you who weren't following F1 at that time, Bottas was leading on the restart, wasn't he? And he backs up a lot, causes a red flag because there's a massive pile up behind him. As a result of that, and also Verstappen's want to, dive bomb people as they are trying to pull away from a safety car restart, the FIA brought in a rule. You're not allowed to overtake. They also brought in a rule about where you can slow and how you can slow. So in theory, Piastri may have been able to slow going into Vale and backed up the pack there. But yeah, he chooses to, as the safety car lights went out. Piastri's defence was he'd been doing that for the laps before, and we heard that in the cool-down room. We didn't say it in the interview with Jensen Button, but we heard it in the cool-down room that he'd been doing that for a couple of laps, so he thought it would be fine. But this is where the visibility comes in, because even if Piastri's saying that, Verstappen was accelerating. Verstappen couldn't see Piastri through the spray, and yeah, he passes him. I think it's fair that Verstappen doesn't get a penalty for that. But we'll have to look at all the angles and all the data that we'll have available to us, and that will come available in the coming days, as to whether or not it was fair to do the 10-second penalty. A lot of F1 fans think this isn't fair, because if you have a look at what happened with Max in Barcelona when he hit Russell, he only got a 10-second penalty. And I get that. I know some people have been saying since that document has been published with what penalties come out, that Verstappen should have got 15 seconds and 4 penalty points, which would have given him a race ban. It's up to the stewards and their own discretion to make that judgment, and there they decided it wasn't as clear that it was fully intentional, so no 4, no 15 seconds. With Piastri, it's a different thing altogether because it comes into a safety point. Now, what's weird is, it should have been the other way around, right? This kind of situation that could cause a penalty should have happened more likely at somewhere like Barcelona, because Locaia is a slower corner. Locaia is a slower corner, and if you're looking up the inside, you're more likely to hit the other person. Stowe, not the same. At least, not exactly the same. But you have a bunch of other compounded factors there. The wet, meaning longer decision time, longer braking distance, slower apex speeds. The visibility having a compounding factor as well. These F1 cars, the ground effect cars, kick up even more spray than the previous generation did because of the way that the Venturi tunnels and everything like that works. It basically creates this massive vacuum, so then the rooster tails look even more spectacular. Downside is it's harder to race in the wet. I don't know. I think I could see why he gets a penalty for it. But I think I would want to see it being clear that all of these are circumstantial, all of these are case by case. Context means absolutely everything. Because I bet if Piastri did that in the dry, Verstappen wouldn't have outbraked himself. He wouldn't have passed Piastri. We wouldn't have had the near misses that we saw there. I reckon that is probably the deciding factor in it. Fair or not fair? Them's the breaks, pal. It doesn't get rid of Piastri's lead in the championship though, but it does diminish it. Looking at the driver standings, it is now 8 points between Norris and Piastri, which means that Norris beating Piastri the next 2 for his second home race in Belgium. Well, we could see Norris leading the championship again. At the same time, Max Verstappen has dropped even further back thanks to the 5th place. He is now 69 points. 69 points behind Piastri and 61 behind Norris. That's 2 max scores essentially. Russell is now 18 points behind Verstappen. After a 10th place, that is a swing away from Russell's favour, but Russell's fine because he gains another point on Charles Leclerc, who's now on 119, only 16 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, with a second retirement in a row and a 4th in 6 races, is still on 63 points. Albon is in 8th on 46. Hulkenberg, with that podium, scores almost as many points as he did in the season up to this point. He's on 37 points and into 9th place in the standings, 14 points clear of Esteban Ocon in 10th. Paul Isaac Hadjar sees himself further and further from the top 10. Well, I mean, I say that, it's just grown by another point. But Lance Stroll is closing up on getting back into the top 10 in the championship on 20. Ahead of Gasly on 19, Alonso on 16 now with another 2 points today. Sainz on 13, Lawson on 10, Tsunoda on 10 even, and Lawson on 12. 6 for Behrman, 4 for Bortoletto, and then poor Colapinto and Doohan are the only two not to have scored points so far this season. And then in the Constructors, McLaren on 442, Ferrari in second on 222. It's nearly double score now. And that's helped by a 1-2 for McLaren and a 4th place as the only point scoring place for Ferrari here. Mercedes, well, they drop a little bit further back. It's 12 points now, so the amount of points that Lewis scored, but it's because Russell got a championship point. Red Bull, well, that's now considerably 4th place. It is, 38 points off of 3rd, 50 points off of 2nd, and 270 points off the championship lead. They still have nearly triple what Williams do in 5th, but yeah, I think I made a preseason prediction saying the top 4 would be close together this season. It's not happening, is it? But yeah, that's pretty much everything for this Grand Prix. I mean, I could have mentioned, and I'm sorry that I didn't in that last section, Sauber are now in 6th. Those 15 points jumped them 5 points clear of RB, and 5 points clear of Aston Martin, who had a double points day. But let me know any thoughts or feelings you have in the comment section down below, folks. Thanks for watching, thanks for joining, thanks for all your support, and until next time, it's bye for now.